Lord Most High, our heavenly
The only thing that's right is that we learn how to surrender ourselves into the gloriousness of our true being.
all our joys and
Good morning. Well, it's October 1st, and that means it's Rimon's birthday. So they're not here today because Rimon's grandson, Jay, also was born on October 1st. And the little family lives in Portland now, so that's just so close. So they all came up to celebrate together, and they are on the top of the Space Needle. So shall we sing happy birthday to Riemann? Because this is a recording. Let's do it. Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday, dear Riemann. Master's blessings on you. So this reading gave me an opportunity which I hadn't taken before to really tune in to what was going on in Gethsemane. And there's a lot that was going on in Gethsemane. I looked at it a lot yesterday, and every time I took a look at that story, I realized there were gems to be extracted. First of all, Christ knew exactly what was happening. He knew what was coming. He understood. He was completely wedded to the will of God. And he knew what was in front of him, and he wasn't going to sidestep it at all. The disciples, on the other hand, weren't quite sure, but it was a very scary time. And they in fact, didn't really want to face it. They didn't want to face into the danger that Christ was in at this point in time, that he was going to be arrested and stood before Pontius Pilate and judged. I think if they had any sense that it was really going to come to pass, they set it aside and they thought, well, this is Christ. We've seen him do miracles. So he can do a miracle for himself, for goodness sakes, and get out of this. However, Christ knew the will of the Father. He knew the meaning of his story. He knew what had to happen. And he said, could this cup be taken from me? I'd rather not go through it this way, go through it this way to wake up my dear friends. And it wasn't to be so. It was to be the way it was to be. And so then he asked if his disciples would come and support him. Won't you please stay here and pray while I go off a bit, and also pray. Pray to surrender myself to this event. And in a way, because they didn't quite understand what was happening, they probably would much rather go to sleep and just avoid the confusion. And I remember, now this is terrible to admit, but one of my favorite films is Jesus of Nazareth, and it's so well done. And I still don't know whether the scene in Gethsemane is for real. But it's very meaningful to me, and it's probably meaningful to all of us. When in the night, Peter crawls up to Christ and said, we got to get you out of here. And Christ's response to that is, "Get thou behind me, Satan." That's very startling. I hope it's in the Bible. I'll do my research. I'll do my research later. I should have done it yesterday. But it's so powerful. You've done miracles before. Save yourself. He didn't understand who was in front of him. And we don't always understand who is in front of us. How can we possibly understand the guru, the avatar that guides our lives? So they fell asleep instead. And so there it was. So where this topic took me yesterday was this question of how can we ever be sure, because we are not fully evolved. We are working toward it every single day, but we are not there yet. How can we be sure we know God's will? And it's a journey that we all have to take. Kriyananda urges us, continually urges us to develop our own intuition. Indeed, that's a very important aspect. We have to know what's right for us. We have to tune in to a higher reality. We have to tune in to a much larger reality than we are aware of. So as we make our decisions, we need to have some intuition working for us. Intuition is the ability to know God. And yet, the ego, I know we've talked about it many times, friend or foe, both. And we're very soaked into it. It takes many, many lifetimes to free ourselves of the influence of the voice of, I want this is my point of view, I want that. And, there's little stories from the East, which I love, the little story of the thought that, I'm not going to get this right, I'll give it a try. The thought to try to get, Satan out of your way, and so you think to put some powder on him so he'll stay away, and then the story tells you that the satanic influence is in the powder. In other words, we have a lot of ways in which the ego is going to influence our thoughts about our decisions. And we're going to feel like we know what is right. The only thing that's right is our freedom. The only thing that's right is that we learn how to surrender ourselves into the gloriousness of our true being. The only thing that's right is that we recognize that we have to make a step-by-step understanding to get through our karma. We have a lot of desires that are taking us this way and that. And we can't always tell whether it's what I want or what is indicated deeply inside for me. And so we need to be very careful. And so if you look at this picture, what's missing here? Well, as I looked at this yesterday, I thought, asking for guidance. So we need to take the path of inner guidance and exterior guidance. We need to ask others. And if you read the stories, the early stories in the autobiography of a yogi, when little Mukunda he had met his guru, and he had not done what his guru wanted. And he came back, and his guru said, well, now I want you to go to college. And Mukunda said, no, 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 no. But eventually, he went and did what he didn't want to do because he was given the advice by his guru to do it. Many times, what is right for us to do doesn't feel very good. But if daily we swim in the joy of meditation, we swim in the joy of deeper and deeper contact with the Guru, we will be able eventually to discern when it's the right thing and when it's our whims and fancies, as Master refers to. This little story just floated into my mind, and I've maybe shared it before, but it's very striking to me how, well, I guess it's the way most of us are. We don't think our parents are wise until we get a little bit older. But my dad was really puzzled by having 4 small little infants. He didn't know what to do with babies. He didn't even know what to do with 5-year-olds or 6-year-olds. But boy, when we got to be teens, Dad and his wisdom stepped into the picture big time. And I remember once I wanted to change colleges, and he forbade me. Another time, I wanted to drop a certain course I was taking. And he said to me a very interesting thing. He said, there's 2 jobs you have in college. One is to learn your subject matter, but another one is to learn how to learn. And so you stick with that teacher, and you put your mind to learning how to learn from that teacher. Well, that's a wonderful way to start extracting I want what I want, from your life, having a different thing. Maybe someone wiser than me might be able to have something to say that will be helpful. When Yogananda got the vision when he was a teacher at Ranchi, which was a school for young children that he started, young boys at that time, I think, and he got the vision, well, there it was. But you notice what he did. He went to Yukteswar. This has come to me. Master talked to me, and Yukteswar said, I think it's a go. The doors will open. That was very reassuring balance there. Inner acceptance, outer acceptance. And then Master, of course, went further, and he wanted the understanding from Babaji, and then he goes into the room in 4 Gorpar Road. I've told this story before because it's one of the most stunning experiences of my spiritual life, to be meditating in a room where Babaji appeared. As a devotee, how could you ask for anything more? And the Master spent hours in there, needing to hear what Babaji had to say. Now, I realize this is a curious one because Babaji could have appeared to him inwardly, but with Babaji free to be in the body or not in the body, he appeared in the body. And he said, you'll be fine. You'll do all right. And of course, Master immediately wanted to follow me. He said, no. So that outer guidance, that way, how are you going to maneuver in the world with that sense of what is right for you? It's a give and take. And this is one of the great importance of community. Because in community we have people that we can go to and say, I'm feeling, this is what I should be doing. Ask them, what do you think? And there are many stories. I remember Sagar, who is a wonderful Indian young man and teaches through Ananda Online. And he told a story. I don't know how many years he's been with Ananda, but he told a story where he just decided, I'm leaving this place. And he went to someone to tell them, I'm leaving, I've had enough. He didn't share what the issue was, but he just said that. That's what he got. And Jaya took him in hand, and I would love to get a copy of this. I think I'm going to write to Sagar to get a copy of what Jaya sent back to him. It was hysterical. It was, okay, so, well, you want to go into the School of Hard Knocks when you're already registered in the School of, Self-Realization? Okay, so here's what you're going to find. And he just listed down how difficult it was going to be and said, you've really started your course here, and I would suggest you continue it. The father giving advice. So it's a balancing act. It's part of the theme we need to be aware of. It's part of the riches that we can draw from this community that we are. So the surrender that I see is the surrender to meditation every day. Because in that surrender, then we really are consciously laying down as best we can our ego. Because our ego is going to, you know, all the subterfuge that comes up when you first learn to meditate. It's going to try to get you to go in your direction instead of the direction that's best for you. So that surrender every day, have those moments, have those half hours, have those hours of feeling the joy of your true home, your true nature, not being just grabbed at by your ego, thinking it wants this and it wants that. What you want is that joy. Thank you.